All right. Good morning, everyone. How's everyone doing? Hopefully everybody can see me and hear me loud and clear. My name is Paul Trani, and I'm going to dive into our content today, which is all about Photoshop and Adobe Xd. So welcome everybody. Trisha, Eric, we have Jason, Massimiliano, that's a mouthful. So welcome everybody. We're going to dive into this. We do have a fun week, by the way. Essentially this is the schedule that's happening right now. So what we have going on is we have Adobe Xd Daily Challenge that's happening along with a Photoshop Daily Challenge that actually has been going on since last week. So that's what's happening. And if you're joining me on YouTube, hop over to behance.net/live. That'd be fantastic. And yes, thank you so much, Trisha. The animation is actually from Oddfellows. They won an award for the animation package and branding package that they did for us last year. And this is just a continuation of it. Okay, turn up the volume. Is that a little better? Okay, so cool. You're just turning up the Spotify volume. All right, let's get this party started. And yes, welcome everyone. Good to have you here. And I'm going to keep an eye on the chat, but this is a learning stream. So I'm really going to be focused on just creating content using Photoshop and Adobe Xd. So that's the goal. I don't want you to feel ignored, but that's what's happening. Today actually is, again, the getting started learning stream. And then tomorrow, this is Tuesday through Thursday. That's the schedule you see, the Xd Creative Challenge, 8 to 9 a.m. I'm going to be with Nick Longo. He's a graphic designer and does UI and UX. We've had him on before. He's like really cool guy, knows his stuff, a really good designer. And then from 10:30 to 12, Hoodspa Design. So we have, and I could actually share that screen with you. But that is Amy and Jennifer Hood of Hoodspa Design with Kathleen. 12 to 12:30, we have Photoshop Daily Challenge. And then 12:30 to 2, we have Christo and Emily Z from Blind. So you're going to see all their awesome stuff. So, Sandesh, no guests today. You are our guests, by the way. Let's just count you as our guests. And good to have you here. So, yes, I'll be going for about an hour and keeping track of it. If there's any audio or technical issues, just let me know in chat. That'd be awesome. But I'm going to kind of switch screens and kind of dive into an overview of what I'm going to be talking about. And that is all about Photoshop and Xd. So you can see here, basically, we're going to be sort of working with imagery, typography, vector graphics, the fundamentals of Photoshop, as I'd like to say. Okay, Sarah, does that work for you? Sarah Chang, hello, good to have you here. And then we're going to dive into XD, seamlessly moving into Adobe XD, sort of taking that PSD either in parts or as a whole into Adobe XD for prototyping, for adding content, and then also for sharing with others. So that's the plan. I'm actually going to be using a little bit of Illustrator because, again, this is a graphic design week, essentially, is what we have. And I think it's good to talk about the differences of why you'd use Photoshop, Illustrator, Adobe XD in these various cases. Yeah, so it's going to be good. Ray, hopefully you like it. I think it's going to be fantastic. And I'm going to kind of move into my next screen. So yes, and the thing about Adobe XD is we have releases monthly, so things come pretty fast. But this is the agenda. We're going to start out in Photoshop, so hopefully you can see my screen here. Everything should be looking good. Fantastic, friends. All right, so we're going to dive into this. I'm in Adobe Photoshop CC. Just make sure you have the latest because that's what I'm learning. Using right up here, Adobe Photoshop CC right over here. And I have it open. And that is the deal. Awesome. Oh, this is your first live. I want to welcome LT's first live stream ever. So that's fantastic. Again, this is a learning stream, so I'm really going to have my head down working on this new brand, which is Moonstruck. It's all about high fashion brand at affordable prices, right? And this brand, I'm going to kind of make a branding package, but really I'm going to bring this into XD and show you the value that it adds and what we can use it for. But I'm definitely like a long time Photoshop user. And typically what we could do in Photoshop is we can add text like I've been doing. Here's some text right here. I've just gone with Futura right up here. And I can kind of dive into anytime you see any number field, you can scrub on the icon next to it. So that's what I'll do. I kind of crank that up. Moonstruck is the brand. And now I have some type. I'll go down to bold, for instance. Something like that is what I'm ultimately going to go with for this brand. Something like that. Okay, but let's bring in some imagery and let's get inspired. So this is to answer your question, the guest is you, Eric, by the way. But all the guests are showing up tomorrow. I'm going to bring in some imagery. I think the easiest way to bring in imagery, sure, I can go to my desktop and I can go to, grab any image, for instance, right in here, and I can bring this into Photoshop by dropping it on the icon. We get it. I can use this, potentially, dropping it in here. This happens to be really huge. But just so you know how I have this set up, is I actually have this set up in such a way that this is actually, if I go to File, New, I created a new, you can see, new document. It's 1920 by 1080 is what I've used. You can also go down into advanced options and make sure you have it set to square pixels, but also artboards. I'm going to actually just be working in artboards because I want to create multiple sort of home pages for this Moonstruck fashion brand. Okay, so that's what's going on here. This is the artboard, artboard 1 as it's known. Okay, so that's kind of what I'm working in. And let's change the color of this text so we can read it. Boom. Resize, you know the shortcut, Command T, okay, can bring up the transform tool. And oftentimes images do come in really large. You're like, oh, where are the handles that I can grab? You don't necessarily need to worry about that. There is a shortcut that I can't think of, but typically what you're going to use is right up here at the top. Let's zoom in on that. Let's make the height, the width. There we go. Let's go over here. Let's just change that to 0. Let's do the width and height, say 50%. If I click this lock icon, it's going to make it even 50-50. You get the idea. And let's get out of here. Zoop. Too many zooms going on. There's my image. Bring it in, something like that. So I could use imagery, but I want to bring in a logo, okay? And I can do some vector work in Photoshop. We can see right down here, I have the rectangle tool. I can use the ellipse tool, for instance, maybe drag out what you see here, which happens to be just a sphere, right? If I decide I want to make a moon and I actually want to sort of cut out another circle out of it, I can start to use those capabilities right up here at the top. It's kind of hidden, so I don't know if you know about this, Sarah or Trisha, but we want to subtract from shape. So I'm going to have that selected, and then I'm going to draw another circle, and it's going to give me, and let's make it kind of thin, it's going to give me that ability to subtract from the current one, right? So you can do some vector capabilities in Photoshop, but ultimately, I'm going to use Illustrator for that sort of thing. Ibrahim, good to have you here, my friend. Cheers, buddy. I notice my head's kind of big. Let's take this down. I don't need to be that prominent in the interface. That's so ridiculous. There we go. Much better. Much more appropriate. All right, so I have this set up. I can create vector assets. I don't know if you use the custom shape tool, if you're aware of this, Eric and Ray and Trisha, but I'll use the custom shape tool, and then I'll go right up here to open up these custom shapes. And you can see initially you don't have that many, but if you go over here to this flyout menu, and then go down here to all, I'm going to select all the vector assets that we have in Photoshop. And let's add it to that current one. Sure enough, these are all my assets. And I'm noticing that there actually is a moon in here. And I can take, say for instance, this crescent moon, maybe make a that crescent moon as well. So there are assets in Photoshop as well. But I'm using vector assets. I have this photo in the background, and I have some text is what I'm doing. So how's everybody doing this fine Monday morning? Hopefully everybody's doing fantastic. And let's just check. All right, fantastic. All right, cool. There should actually be some stars and some different things in here, but what I want to do is I actually want to use Illustrator. So I'm gonna start to blur the lines between the different apps, right? So again, this is my home page that I'm making initially. I'm gonna actually open up Illustrator, right? Because I'm thinking, okay, Illustrator is really where I'm gonna create vector assets. How does Illustrator work with Photoshop? You know, with XD. And again, I get the title says Photoshop, but we're in Illustrator, and here I am. What I'm actually gonna do is I'm gonna do a couple things in here. If I wanna make a star or any sort of shape, I have that same capability. I can take these two, offset these two. In fact, what I wanna do is I want to, kind of cheating a little bit. Let me grab this face that I have in here. But this is basically the logo I ended up with. And you can see it's actually just made with a combination of shapes here. Pretty easily done, right? We get how that works, but I want to show you just real fast because I thought it'd be cool rather than just having a crescent moon. Let's actually have a face, you know, that's kind of cut out of that moon. So that's what I'm going to do now real quickly in Illustrator, using really the best tool for the job. Sometimes the best tool for the job is the tool that you know, right? That's what it's going to be. So if you know Illustrator and Illustrator works for you, fantastic. You just go to town. All right, but here I am just using Illustrator to kind of create this crescent moon with a face, okay? Just kind of see how that's done. I'm going to rotate this a little bit so the curves are all correct, something like that. Selecting these two, a number of ways to do this, but I do want to point out right over here in the Properties panel, I can actually go down and I can see the Pathfinder capabilities because I have two shapes selected, okay? Oh, Eric, you're just like melting my heart. Thank you so much for being so kind. Makes it a great morning that I'm here. Makes it a great morning that you're here, Eric. I really appreciate you. So I'm going to click to minus front. Boom. Okay. There's what I think is going to be my logo, potentially. I'm going to drop in some stars, and also I'm going to show you these are Boolean methods that I'm doing in Illustrator, in Photoshop, and I'm going to show you it in XD, and I'm going to show you the differences. Because XD is like super powerful. For one, what just happened here is I can no longer move that this circle around. Like if I want to change this later, sure, I have those points, but I don't have that complete circle or the complete head to deal with, right? So it's destructive in a way, okay? Which is not bad, but you want it to be better. Going into the star tool, you can see right over here, you can take star right here. I'm gonna add some stars, just clicking and dragging. If I hold down the shift key, hold on, the option key or alt key, I can change this from a chubby star to a thin star, if you will, or a true star, right? So I can kind of toggle between these two and determine which one I want, all using the alt key, right? I can also use the up arrows and down arrows to add more stars, more star points. In this case, I want 5, and I want it to be kind of a chubby star. Let's make it about that big, and there we have it. We're moving on along, making our logo, right? This is all graphic design stuff. Graphic design, I don't know if you'd call it 1.0, but the fundamentals of graphic design. And I emphasize the word fun in that. Yeah, that's right. That was a dumb joke. But there you have it. I could even put this like, maybe this is kind of like right on her, like where her earring would be. But now that I have this shape, right, we can go with this as our logo for now. You love the lashes. You're right. It is very nice. So thank you so much, Sarah. You guys are like really you guys mean a lot to me. Cheers to you. Thank you so much for joining me. So this is what the old way of doing this would just be saving the file to your desktop and hunting it down somewhere. But what I can actually use now is Creative Cloud libraries right over here. You can see I already have this library called Moonstruck. So I can actually come over here and I can create a new library, and that's exactly what I did. But this is where I start putting all of my assets. You can already see I put the logo in here a couple times, but if you want to add something, it's simple as pressing that plus button. Hopefully you can see that at the bottom. And make sure that, yeah, you should be able to see that there. And selecting add. Now it gets added right up there as just artwork 1. If I would have named the layers, it would have come in as logo large, logo, word mark, all that fun stuff. If I decide to pick a color, for instance, if I want to go with this nice teal, I can come down here and just add that as a fill color if I want to, right? So I could use that in multiple places, right? Same thing for the text. So that's in there now, right? This starts to be my, this would be considered my style guide, right? So this is going to be the master style guide, even as I start to add text. Changing this to, you guessed it, Futura in this case. Hopefully that's okay for you. I just love Futura Light personally. I love Futura Light. Look at that. It looks sharp. I love, this is why I picked this font. It's because it has, the O's are perfect circles. And that's what I really like about it, right? So I can change it to that color. In this case, since it is a logo, I want to kind of like make it look just more bold so it stands out more. I'll go into, say for instance, heavy, and that's what I'll use. And then I'll break this apart by creating outlines. And then I'll remove the circles from the inside of those, something like that. And now I have my word mark, right? Adding that right over here as a graphic, just like that, okay? And now we have our complete, our word mark, we have our complete logo. I'm gonna kind of shrink this up like that. What if I decide to, here we go, adding this right over here, like that, and this is the full logo, like the complete logo and not the watermark version or the small version. In Photoshop, there it is. I see the full logo. I can drop that in, position that accordingly, right? All that good stuff. Turning off those other layers, but not all of them. All right, so let's kind of work on this, because really my design skills are suffering a little bit, but that's going to be based a lot on sort of like what I'm trying to accomplish. I want to make sure that this is fashionable but still approachable, okay? So that's the idea. I have this logo, I have that background image. There's more I can do with this. I maybe want to make this white. I can do a color overlay over it, for instance, and make it white, just doing an overlay of white. And then there it is. But I'm going to take it to the next level really fast. Ooh, Proxima. Oh, Proxima Nova. Oh, that's good. Actually, you know what? I really like that, Eric. Like Proxima, like Nova being supernova and very celestial based is, I'm into it. Okay. So this isn't bad. This is one option I have. This is the very clean version, Artboard 1, or, you know, sort of, we'll call this like Design 1, okay? And then what I could do is I can hold down the Alt key. Remember, this is an artboard, and then I'm gonna click this plus sign, boom. Now I've just duplicated this. Now I have Design 2. So I'm gonna keep my first design, but then start to expand on it for this second one. So here, this is where I wanna drop in some more images. Let's try some more imagery. Let's try this one. Oh, so dramatic. Such a dramatic photo. Sorry, it's a little dark. I apologize. Okay, Martin asks if you're able, when are we able to publish websites like in XD like we were with Adobe Muse? We would love to. Like, I think you asked designers and they're like, heck yeah, I want to publish websites. Ooh, this is a gorgeous image. Oh, I might actually use that on here. What if I want to put this image on this first artboard? All I need to do is go in here to my layers panel and drag it down, and it'll reposition it and put it right in there. So that's absolutely gorgeous. I'm going to keep that as my first design and then go back to design 2. But to answer your question is like, as a designer, we want to be able to, just have the code written for us. But we just end up getting in a lot of trouble with developers because you have all of this machine generated code, which is never going to be what somebody wants who's handwriting code. So you just can't win anytime you're generating code. And I'm being very general when I say that, but overall, that's the situation. If there was a huge outcry, we'd be like, yeah, we'll go ahead and, consider that. But anyways, so currently you just output the CSS, you just output the images and then all of these specs for it is what happens. All right, so here's all my images. Where did these images come from? Well, quite frankly, all I used Adobe Stock, right? So right over here, up at the top, I can search Adobe Stock. This might be a quick way to do fashion and give me those results and give me just the photos for fashion. And you can see I get a number of good images. You can see I've actually already purchased this one, right? So I could download, for instance, the watermark version or actually purchase it right away. But I'm going to save a preview of this second one and you can see we're back in our same library, right? So I could use this as a placeholder in here and sure enough, it has that watermark. So that's where all those came from. I'm going to just do some quick things and just kind of let the designer in me take over. Oh, by the way, check this out. You have to be aware of this. Yeah, so let's dive into this. Here's just another. I'm glad you guys are watching because I think I got lots of little tips, if you will. If you go, so basically what I want to do is I want to divide this up into fourths. So I can go to View. I can go down here to a new guide layout. Because rather than me doing the math, I can go to New Guide Layout, and from here I can say, hey, you know what? Let's zoom in on that. The selected artboard, right, which is Design Artboard 2, let's have 4 columns with no gutter, right? That's all I want to do, and you can see I've divided that up accordingly. Click OK, done. Now I can go in and select just that area. It snaps to that guide, and I can make a mask. Going right here, and I can make a mask. Oops. Mask. All right. Yes, grids in Photoshop. All right, let's just checking up on that. All right, let's move this. By the way, I'm adding layer masks right over here. Okay, so layer masks will come through when we go into XD. I'm going to be going into XD in about 7 minutes. All right, so I got to finish up these 2 designs. All right, moving this over. That may or may not be the best image. We'll work on that later, not to worry. I want to make sure a lot of these images kind of have the same tone. That's what I'm doing is I'm creating layer masks. Hopefully you're using layer masks. I'm sure you are these days, but they're essential when it comes to creating in XD. So here's a situation where I have a couple images. Some are more bold than others. This one, for instance, this is what I'm going to do for this image, right? I actually want this to be black and white, so I'm going to just do let's just convert it. Let's just make it black and white. Quick and dirty, quick and dirty. There we go. Let's make sure we have this masked out, and now I have this second design that I need to work on, or that I'm working on. Let's reorder images. Move this one over here. Take this one, move it over here. Oh, by the way, let's undo that. I gotta make sure that these are locked. I want to lock these down. So I'm actually tying the layer mask to the layer itself. So I'm just kind of reordering these a little bit just to get a better layout because it was a little too heavy on one side. Command H will hide extras in this case. Selecting that image. Moving this around. Now let's unlock these layer masks in some cases. There we go. Here's our design, full logo. Let's put it right here. Shrink it down like that. In fact, let's turn off the color overlay. In fact, let's make that color overlay. I'm going to show you some things, by the way. I'm going to show you kind of what comes through and what doesn't. In fact, for this full logo, if I decide I want to edit it, I could just double click on it. It's going to open it up. I can come in here, change the color to black, because there's no reason. I was just showing you that color just to show you that you can add color. So come back over here. Sure enough, it's updated. All right, so that's kind of what I have. I don't know what everybody thinks. Oh, Ryan Nelson. Ryan, if you learn one thing today, it should be layer masks, right? Let's take our third design, for instance. Let's remove this. This is just for Ryan and just for everyone else that is interested in this. This is awesome. So I'm still using artboards. Rather than holding down the Alt key, I'm just going to click plus. Boom. Here's my new artboard called Design 3. I'm going to have 3 designs that I'm bringing into XD, dropping this photo right on here. This is going to be the fun layout. Dropping on the logo right over here. Keeping this pretty simple. Maybe even adding some bokeh effects. There's so much I want to do. There's so much I want to do. Scale this up. And let's take this. Let's just rasterize this and invert it and brighten this up. There you go. Okay, so what if I want this to be in a circle, for instance? Let me show you how this works. So I have this layer selected, right? Here we are, young fashion woman right here. I'm going to create a circle because that's very moon-like, if you will. I'm going to just create a selection that's a circle. So using the ellipse, I'm going to draw out a circle just like that, okay? Now, within that selection is the only part that I want the image shown. So right down here, I'm going to click right here. You could do it different ways, but this is typically how people do it. Right down here, add a layer mask. Boom. Now she's inside of that circle, and I can move this around any way I want. Okay, notice that it is locked. So I'm moving the mask, the layer mask that was just made, and then the layer as well. I can unlock that. If I unlock that, I can move... Excuse me, and with that person selected, I can move her around in there and kind of reposition it kind of like that. Okay, so this could be another alternative for my design as I try to pick another color and fill it. Adding a new layer. Don't mind me, just trying to select all, fill with foreground color. Working on it still. Don't hate me because this design is not as good as the others, but I'd need more time. Essentially what I'd want to do with this one in this case is make this one kind of more about bubbles, right? A bunch of little circles with different photos in them. There's a clipping mask that we can always add. So with this circle, for instance, I can grab this photo of this woman, dropping it in here. You ready for this? Eric, are you ready for this? Francie as well. I want to put this image, check this out, I want to put this image inside of that circle there. And let's be aware of their stacking order right over here. Put this image inside of that circle. What do? I make it a clipping mask, right? I can right click, create clipping mask. Okay, watch when I do that. I'm going to zoom out. Boom, there it is. Now they can be moved independently. The reason this clipping mask is good is because this is great for like text. I want to keep the text editable, yeah, and then also have it filled with an image. All right, so there are 3 designs. Let's move on. We've done everything we need to do. We're saving this to our desktop. We're going to call this Moonstruck. It is high fashion for the cost conscious. To my desktop, what do I have to do to save this, to bring it into XD? What's the special thing that I have to do? A whole lot of nothing. I don't have to do anything. All I need to do is click save, right? I just saved a PSD. Going to my desktop, here's my PSD file. I want to open this up in XD. All I need to do is right click, open with Adobe Xd. Another way of doing this, and I'm sure Alexander knows this, is opening up, going to XD and selecting File, Open. So it's not an import or anything like that. It's literally a file open. You locate from your desktop that PSD, there it is, clicking open, and what happens, it'll take all those assets and bring them in. Hey Jason, thank you so much. You're being very kind saying that it's A+ work. It needs a lot of help. But again, I'm showing you how to do things is the whole idea. Okay, so I bring this in, it sure enough says, hey, you know, this design is ready to edit right down here. Perfect, thank you so much. Gives me these hints, might be behind my head. Let's see, a little bit behind my head, apologize. But nonetheless, I can click OK. That's what they're pointing out here is this little layer icon. Allows me to open up the layers panel. We could see right up here. Here are my artboards. We could see my different designs right in here. 1, 2, 3. They all come in pretty much as expected. Let's keep in mind that XD is not Photoshop because we're trying to adhere to what you're trying to create and what you're trying to output. So you can see some of these designs came in perfect. This one's good. This design too. We have some layer masks that did not quite come through, but I'll click on it. If I select this artboard, it's going to give me contextually all of the assets, right in here. Didn't quite give me the masks that I want, but what it does give me is all these assets. It even brings in layers that are turned off. So I can turn on, say for instance, remember that design I did? Remember this design? Remember this text? Remember that text? And I can start to work with it. But these are my 3 designs, and I could start to work with each one. When it comes to masking in Photoshop, what I can do, I could do a couple things, right? This is typically how you want to work, right? Let's take, for instance, being able to mask, and let's kind of turn off those other items because they're getting distracting. So again, text comes through. Some masks may or may not come through, but I want to show you how masks work. So that's why I wanted this to happen. So essentially, this gives me a chance to show you. All you need to do is draw a rectangle of any shape. By the way, check this out, Felicia, Nadid, and Tawfiq. Check this out, like right here. I have this shape, and let's just like draw out this shape. That's 100%. It's the full width of this artboard. But I want it to be 1/4 of this artboard. So give me one column. I can go over here to the width and I say, hey, 1920 divided by 4. Okay? You can have math operations, boop, in Adobe Xd. With that done, I can kind of save off another one for later, but I'm going to have this image. I'm going to select the image behind it, and I'm going to go to Object, Mask with Shape. Boom. There it is. Easy enough. I know you want it to be more complex, but it's not. I don't know what to tell you. Again, just kind of select, make sure that image is underneath, and then it's the same thing, mask with shape. And you can get all those individual masks. That actually looks pretty good. Object, mask with shape. There we go. Double click. If I double click inside of it, I can have access to that full image. You can see that right in here. There it is. And I can kind of shrink it down and get something maybe more appropriate for what I'm looking for. Okay. Ungroup mask. There we go. Perfect. I actually had 2 masks. I had one mask inside of another, by the way. That's what just was going on there. So I can lay this out appropriately, like however I want. I have these 3 columns. I love the idea of them sliding. Maybe some are moving, some aren't. I have so many good ideas. Let's do this. Here's my logo. I want to bring it to the front. I could right click or bring to front, or I can select full logo. Let's just bring this to the top just like that. Here's my full logo. Can be right there. Okay. Let's do a couple other things right in here. I want this logo to stand out more. Some cool things that even XD can do that Photoshop can't do quite the same way. I'm going to draw out a bar, okay? And I could have this logo on a fancy bar, right? Like that. That's actually not bad. I kind of dig that. I kind of dig this design right now. But what I wanted to do is come in here and show you that you can actually add a background blur. So I'm going to turn on background blur. And now we can see that it's blurred out all those images, whatever's beneath it. So I can move these around, it's going to blur it out. I really like this look. And not only that, I can adjust how blurry it is and how bright it is. So I can kind of have that brightened up, or I can have it darker, and maybe this is going to be brighter, for instance. Right, so a number of things I can do. I'll just kind of keep this brighter like that. Let's move this off to the side, and I can start to play with this. Masks on masks on masks. All right. Right on. Oh, yeah, that's good. Oh, thank you. Ibrahim brought up a great point. You can also easily use repeat grid. So coming from Photoshop, you're probably not going to be aware of repeat grid. You're like, what is that? Why would I use that? And I want to show it to you, but not on this design. I want to spend so much time just like, this is where I get lost in kind of the nitty gritty of it all. What about open the CC library? So bringing content into XD, opening CC libraries. Yep, here it is. Here's Moonstruck. What do I want to do in this case? Maybe grab that watermark and bring it in, right? Drop that right there. How is it different? Oh, look, it's actually linked back to that original library asset. All right, so I can take this. I can actually drop in this one, for instance. I can have these two. I can get rid of this one. I don't know, do something like that, right? So this is kind of the look I'm currently going for. I'm going to blow your mind is what I'm going to do. So I can bring that stuff in. This is all linked. So if I decide to move these stars around back in Illustrator, I can do that, and it's going to update, and it's going to blow your mind. Because that's amazing. We take this for granted, right? I decide I want to add another star like right over here. Right? Done. Save. Close. Back in here. Wait for it. I'm not sure how long it's going to take. We don't need to wait for it. Oh, there it is. Never mind. We did wait for it, and there's the star. So you can have a designer. I can have Ibrahim, knows what he's doing. He's the man. Or even Alexander. I can have Alexander like work on the logo. He could be the art director or the designer that's doing the branding, and I could be the UX or UI designer, user interface designer in this case, that's working on this. Okay, shrink this down, move this over. You get the idea. Whatever. But now that I have these three made, I don't know, maybe you like this one, maybe you like this one, maybe you like this one. I don't know. This mask didn't come through. That's okay. Showing you that. Clipping masks don't necessarily come through because, again, XD is not Photoshop. And it needs to adhere to some certain level of compatibility for developers. Oops, I just made that a symbol. And I want to mask with shape. So here's my three designs. What do? I come up here to the top, checking everything, and I can preview this. I get design 1, use an arrow key, design 2, design 3, okay? That's weird that they were kind of out of order. Am I wrong? Maybe not. But what I want to do now is I want to publish this. So I'm going to publish out this prototype. You're thinking, hey, Paul, you did not actually prototype really anything. These are just 3 designs. And that's why I'm saying this is what I'd use Photoshop for, merely to show off a design to someone. So title is Moonstruck. Moonstruck Designs is what we can say. Homepage designs, right? Allow comments, show hotspot hints. It doesn't really matter. There's no hotspots, but I'm going to create that public link. Right, so now I have a design that I can send to a client, send to the art director, whoever's in charge, whoever isn't in charge, and they can just like indiscriminately judge your work and just pick it apart, which is just a horrible idea. Just kidding. How are we going to get better if we don't show our work, people? All right, so there it is. I think this is kind of hidden because essentially I published that link and we can actually see if we go right up here. So we can, copy it, get the embed code. Let's just open it in a browser, click. We'll have it open. All right, that's going to open up. While that opens up, I'm just going to refresh and tell you where we're at in the timeline of things. We're now in Adobe Xd. We're using PSD files, show you CC libraries. I'm kind of showing you a little bit how to manipulate graphics and text. I'll show you repeat grid, and then we'll get into prototyping a little bit more advanced. But honestly, right now where we're at is sort of getting feedback, publishing and getting feedback from others. And by the way, just to recap, just make sure you're joining us tomorrow morning at 8:30 a.m. Pacific time. We have the XD Daily Challenge, a chance to get something in your portfolio, to honestly just have fun, because you need an objective ultimately. So there's a Photoshop and XD challenges going on, and then at 9 a.m. we have Nick Longo, we have Hoodspud Design, and Chris Doe and Emily Z from Blind. I would love to show you their work, but I'm running out of time too. They are awesome designers. I don't know. I just feel so honored to, just get to hang out with them, and super cool. Boom, Alexander mentioned it too. Additional things, fixed elements, overlays. I'm going to do those too because I have some great ideas of what I want to do just for fun. Okay, so here's design 1. Should be able to see my screen. Right down here, you can see it says 1 of 3. And I can go through, and I can just use my arrow keys, by the way. Second design, third design. So that's these are the 3 designs. So they can kind of come in. This is my least favorite. So the client could say, not a big fan. Or they'd go to the second one. They'd say, I really like this. Can you make it different? Thanks, whoever. Thanks for that. Can you make this different? What about this first one? The comment is, can you make this smaller? What do they mean by this? We can point and put that pin right on that logo. So when they say make this smaller, they actually mean that logo. In fact, see how it works both ways. As I roll over it, we see that 1. I roll over it over here. It highlights over here on this side. So Thomas mentions, can you reflect a copy of the moon graphic across a vertical axis in XD? You can't do a flip or reflect currently, but that's a thing. That's a good thought that we'd like to do. And maybe, can you just add more to this one? Okay. Just add more to it. Just add something more unique. And that's what I'm going to do really fast. Ready? Because I just had a great idea. The client says, oh, they want to add more. I'm thinking, okay, I can add more to this. I could do that. That's what I'm going to do right now. Pasting in. Just for fun. We're just going to have some fun with this, shall we? Because life is too short to not have fun, to not grow as an individual, and to not be nice to people. Just be nice. It's like freaking everything you learned in elementary school, just do that. And you'll be a happy person, right? Because I think anybody who gives in whatever way they can, and I know there's lots of people on the stream that do give of their time and enter in the daily challenges. But I'm just adding some stars in here. I'm not saying they're that great. I kind of do want to, I could probably change this up. I can make some of these transparent and stuff. I'm actually going to try this, though. Take all these stars. I'm going to drop them into my Creative Cloud library. Add. These are my stars. With those stars added, I can come in here. Oops. So much I want to do. And my library. Here's my stars. Let's drop them in like that and resize them. All right, cool. I'm just going to make this kind of fun, but I think this is going to show off a couple things. I'm going to have some stars here. I'm going to have some additional screens. So here's the stars. I just decided that I'm going to save my file. That's one thing you should do. Save your file. And this is going to be I'm going to save this next one as the Moonstruck website. Because the client wants to go with this first design, right? They want to go with this first design. So I can get rid of these others. Here's my main website. So I'm going to add a quick button. We'll just do latest fashion. Adding that in right down here. And let's make sure we're using our font Futura. In this case, we're going to use Futura PT. Stands for Paul Trani. Light. Oh yeah, so pretty, so nice. All right, latest fashion. Let's just do something. Let's take a chunk out of this. This is what we do as designers. Is we do things a little bit more interesting. We're like, hey, you know what? I could have a boring rectangle button, but don't you dare. Let's like just take a chunk out of it right over here. Selecting these two, we did Boolean operations in Photoshop and in Illustrator. Right over here, we have the same ones. We could do a subtract. So adding that subtract, and now I have something maybe a little bit more unique that seems kind of like, I don't know. I'm going to try it out. It's going to be kind of like over here. Okay, those two selected. I'm going to group them. I could make this a symbol. I can save it for later. I can point to another page. So duplicating this one, Command D. Here's my second page. And now I can have some fun adjusting this design. Wait for it. I'm in the prototyping phase. If you're just joining me, make sure you tune in tomorrow, 8:30 a.m. Pacific time. We have some things going on. Basically, we have a graphic design live stream all this week. Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday, we have an Adobe Xd stream. But what do I want to do? I want to do what Ibrahim said. He said, hey, you can make that a repeat grid, and he's exactly right. First off, I'm going to add this one element, and this will be like, you know, something that says spring. I don't know. It doesn't really go. Go to latest fashion. Go to like I don't even know. I'm just typing in some text, and then I'm gonna have these two elements. What I can do is select repeat grid. Repeat grid can allow me to tile this direction up or down any way I want, but you get the idea. And I can control the gutter. Taking that down to 0. Sweet. You'd like to have text inside of a shape, like in design. So this is my design. This is what I'm going to go with. It's going to tile that way. I want to replace that text with imagery. So let's go to my desktop, go into fashion, and I can drop in some images right there, and they propagate all the way through. By the way, look, they still have that spring text. I want it to stand out more. Click inside of here. I can move this text around, of course, right? So it's tied together like it's a class, but they're going to individual elements. Obviously, I add something new. I can add, for instance, a background blur, turn off that border, move that up. In fact, let's send this to the back because we can see how it's nested together using my panel here. So I can bring this to the front. There we go. Something like that. You get the idea. We now have spring, fall. No, I don't know how I apparently don't know how seasons go. Spring, summer, fall, winter. There we have all our seasons, different elements, ready to go, and everything is looking pretty good. I can adjust this further. Centering content, moving it, and all that fun stuff. So that's a repeat grid. If you weren't aware of the repeat grid, hopefully you're like, wow, that is really cool. And you know what? You would be right. It is really cool. And I'm going to roll over this. There we go. That's what I need to worry about. I need to make that a little smaller, but you get the idea. It will start to repeat even further there, but let's just do something like that. So this is our design. Hopefully you like it. Just going really fast, making the second page, if you will. Going to have this page linked to the second page. Selecting that button, go to prototype. Select any element, click and drag, point to that second screen. It gets this pop-up, and now I can do a transition of a dissolve. In fact, this way, let's do a slide left. And when I select this logo, it's going to point back, and I could do a simple point back like that and do a slide right. Or what I can do is just select, check this out, this is what I usually do. For back buttons, just click on that tag and then go to previous artboard, and then it will reverse it, okay? Also, I'm going to do this really fast since I only have 5.
I get it, but I can check the web for
Siri. Oh, are you serious? All right. One more thing I'm going to do for these stars. I want these stars to, I want to have these, this is what I want to do. I want to have these stars. You ready for this? This is for Ibrahim. Bunch of items that I no longer need. Let's go ahead and take these items and make them fixed position. Let's make the background a fixed position. Let's keep this text, or excuse me, these stars as scrollable. Okay, so I'm going to make this design much larger, vertical in size, shoop, like that. And the stars are actually going to scroll up. So that's all I'm doing right there. The stars are going to scroll up since everything else is at a fixed position. Let's click play, and we can see the stars are scrolling. Just for fun, why not? So that scrolls up. That shows you how to do fixed position elements. Navigation, you want it to be fixed. Maybe other elements you want to scroll. You can see how that works. We can click into latest fashion. Sure enough, we have all these items that I can click into, and I can also go back. All right. Okay, new messages. All right, cool. Oh, thanks, Sarah Raj. Sarah, hello, Sarah. Perfect timing. Let's talk about Sarah Raj. She is fantastic, wonderful person. I really wish we got to hang out more, but she is actually doing the XD Daily Creative Challenge. So she is in charge there. So just do whatever she says and you'll just be a success. Really, sometimes it's like, just do this, and don't do stupid stuff and you'll be successful. But really, ultimately, you're building out your portfolio. I like to think you have projects to work on daily, whether it's XD or Photoshop related, and then really just building a career based on that is the idea. And thank you for joining me, Philippa, Trevor, Ibrahim. Hopefully you get the idea of the power of XD. I'm going to switch back over, and Photoshop, by the way. Remember, this all started from Photoshop right over here. Boop. My initial designs, artboards come through, even used Illustrator, and now we end up in XD. And finally, all I need to do is go into Publish Prototype. By the way, and I can publish design specs, mentioned that earlier, but at this point I just need to update that link. So you get the idea. Sarah, are you going to be in the San Francisco office too? Please say yes. I think you are going to be. Let us know. Let me know. It'd be great to see ya. And try to distract you. That's what I do when I'm off cameras. I try to distract some of the other presenters. just to see what they're made of. Just like, let's see if I can get you to smile. Here it is. It comes through. We see the stars. We see, since I did an update, I have all these. Can you make this smaller? Let's resolve that comment. Done. Can you add more to this one? That's exactly what I did. All right, actually, hold on. Let's take this. Reply. Added stars. So who doesn't love stars? Just keeps you in awe and wonder about life, but all the navigation works as well. All right, Sarah is going to be in the office. Join Sarah and the rest of the gang. And this was being recorded, but join Sarah and Nick. And we have Hoodspot Design, which is Amy and Jennifer Hood, and then Christo and Emily Z. Kathleen's going to be in the house as well, doing Photoshop Daily Creative Challenge. Super fun. Yes, good luck, Sarah. If I was coming in before you, I'll bring you. Sarah, let me know if you want a coffee. I can go by and get you Phil's coffee, because that's what I'm hooked on. So let me know if you want a Phil's, and I'll go pick you up one. All right, just let me know. Thank you, everybody, for watching. Have a beautiful day. Remember to be nice to one another. Go call your mom. Give your neighbor a hug. Pick up your trash. And just be a good person. So thanks so much for watching, everybody. And we will see you soon. And I will just leave you with this fancy schedule and call it a day. So thanks so much, everybody.